uh, yeah, I grew up in Luther my whole life
Hmm.
and branched out when I went to college, and here I
Nice.
am. So
Nice. And where are you based out of now?
I moved to Stroud, Oklahoma
Okay.
last year. So
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. So I'm down in Waco, Texas. So
awesome, man. That's
right.
cool.
Yeah. I almost moved to Tulsa out of college,
Oh,
but I went for a job interview. Drove overnight on my birthday. So it was like I left on Thursday, drove through the night to get to Tulsa at 9 o'clock in the morning on my birthday and interviewed for a job and whatnot. What I didn't realize that Tulsa got pelted with severe tornadoes. Like
oh yeah.
really, it was right around the time of the Joplin tornado, and I guess they had it was maybe a year or two after that. I'm trying to get it straight in my head, but
Yeah.
it was right around that time. And I went to go to the job interview, and the guy's like, "You actually showed up?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why wouldn't I? We just got hit by like three tornadoes in the last 8 hours."
Oof.
And I'm like, "Well, I just drove in from Kentucky, so
Yeah, well,
yeah."
that's like a buddy of mine who just drove down to Florida that I work with, and
Mhm.
he's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go drive by Shreveport," and we're like, there's like a hurricane going on right now, right?
Yep.
He's like, "What?"
Yeah, I did that a couple of years ago where I was up in Montana doing a acoustic set or doing some acoustic recording sets with some buddies up there, and
I love Montana.
my mom calls me. She's like, "Hey, are you on your way back?" Because I was living in Florida at the time, and she's like, "Hey, are you on your way back right now?" And I'm like, "No, I'm up in Montana. Why?" You have 2 days to get back to Florida because there's about to be a hurricane hitting the Gulf Coast,
Ooh,
and you're not going to be able to get home. And
yeah,
I'm like, "Oh shit, guys, we got to go."
yeah.
So it's
Either that or get you a rental car.
right, and it's like, dang it, okay, we're going, let's go.
Yeah.
So but excited to have you here. We got Levi Walker joining us on the podcast. How's everything been going? You've been killing it this summer, it looks like. So
Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing the best I can. I sure appreciate you having me. It's been a blast. I'm so
nice.
happy to be doing what I do.
Nice. And so you're from Oklahoma, you live in Oklahoma. What was it like growing up in Oklahoma?
Well, so I'm from Luther, Oklahoma. Uh, I wasn't born there. I was born in Chickasha, but I grew up my whole life in Luther. My mom was a school teacher there and still is a school teacher there. So I moved kind of all around. I've lived in Arcadia. I've lived in Luther. I lived in Edmond. Lived in a few houses in Edmond when I was in college, and recently just moved to Stroud, Oklahoma. So I've kind of stayed in the East Central areas. But I'll always be an Oklahomie, so
Yeah,
it's in my blood. So
nice. No aspirations of going to Nashville or down here to Texas.
oh, I'd love to. I think it'd be great.
Yeah,
Obviously the situation hasn't arisen yet where
yeah,
I've been put in the predicament to do so, but my grandparents used to live in Texas, down in the Galveston area. So I used to make frequent trips down there, and I've been to Tennessee. I have yet to go to Nashville. Waiting for my chance to do that. So hoping that's coming up soon.
Nashville is a an experience, especially for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just
I
kind of
want to
leave
do
it
it
there.
right. So
Right, right. Fair enough. So, growing up in Oklahoma, was music kind of always there? How does music kind of come into play?
so for me, music was not uh there, as such as an option for me as something to do. But it was always there in my life. I grew up with a very musical, you could say, family. But it was more just my grandfather was our campfire guy. And like I said, he was the one that they ended up moving down to Texas and we spent a lot of time with. But um, back and forth from this place called the Blue River in Oklahoma is where I spent a lot of my childhood growing up and where I learned most of everything I know today. Is where our family would come together and spend time. We have family live in multiple different states,
Yeah,
so that was where we could come together as one and kind of, hang out, listen to music, learn a few things, enjoy that camaraderie. And But he was the guy that pulled out the campfire and just start playing and singing songs, cigarette hanging out his mouth, the cut off blue jeans. Um, but whenever he passed away, we kind of quit doing that.
Hmm.
And then one day I picked up a guitar and we were around a fire and it just kind of brought back the feeling that we used to have with him. And I think ever since that, it really resonated with me, and I think I just kind of wanted to fill that hole that we had in our family.
Nice, nice, nice. And so it was that moment that was kind of the tipping point for you. Like, had you, did you know how to play guitar before that,
So I
or?
had a vague knowledge of it.
Mhm.
I got my first guitar when I was about 8 or 9.
Mhm.
Um, and to me, that's pretty young. But after being in here, I've known people that have been doing it since they were like they could walk.
Yeah.
They had a guitar before they could walk. But for me, I got my first guitar when I was around 8 or 9. I didn't have much interest in it. Um, I could play, the basic songs like Wagon Wheel and all that. But whenever I played around the campfire that day, I was probably 13, maybe 13 years old. Um, I played Can't You See by Marshall Tucker Band around the campfire, and it it was a good feeling. But I didn't start professionally, quote unquote,
Yeah.
professionally playing until about 3 years ago was my very first live show after I got out of college. Um, right, almost smack dab the front end of COVID, you could
Yeah.
say. Probably the worst time to start getting into music.
I'd almost argue that's the best. That was the best time to really
Really?
start getting into it. I mean, as far like, especially if you're like a singer songwriter, because it kind of gave you the opportunity to really just focus in on,
Yeah.
because like, unless if you had a job outside of your work, would you really have, Because like
Yeah.
nobody was like, I mean, Texas was a little bit different, but like I heard stories of people that were home alone for weeks on end because they were working remotely and
That was actually one of the reasons why I started writing. I didn't start writing until about 3, 4 years ago.
hmm
And it was all that time at home because I had to work remote at
hmm
home. And when you're at home by yourself, most of the time, you get in your head and you got to get these thoughts out. And the best way for me to get those thoughts out was just by writing songs and getting them on paper or getting them in my notebook. And it didn't occur to me until uh, I started picking up my guitar more that I could put music to them and actually make a song about it. And I posted a few online and little snippets, and people enjoyed them and they liked them. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I can finish these and see what people think. And sure enough, after posting enough, you get enough people talking about it and they want you to come play. So my first party that I played was a private event, 4th of July at one of my old teachers' houses. Like I said, my mom's a teacher, so
hmm
I was always friends with all them growing up. So shout out to Miss Umberham.
And at that point, like when you first started playing shows, was it all originals or kind of mix of everything or
So it was definitely I had a couple originals when I
okay.
started because I kind of jumped right into it almost immediately after I started writing.
Yeah.
And of course, there's always going to be covers when you kind of start out until you have enough to finally start playing all your own stuff.
hmm
Um, but yeah, it was a couple songs for the first, I don't know, I'd say 6 months. And then after about a year, I had a solid set I could work with and play live
That's
with. But even now, today, when I play covers, I always try to put my own spin on it to make it
yeah.
something new in a way that sounds good still, but also pays homage to the people that wrote the song because it's big and famous for a reason.
Oh yeah, 100%. What's the most obscure cover song you got sitting in your back pocket?
Man, so obscure. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's as much as obscure now, but
Yeah.
there's this guy making waves all over the country named Josh Malloy.
hmm
And I play the mess out of his songs, man. Um, Definitely being in Oklahoma and him being an Oklahoma boy, it definitely
hmm
resonates a little differently when I play it in places here.
hmm
And I've played his music in places like Montana and Idaho and Las Vegas and Fort Worth, Texas. And people who've never heard of him or heard of that song before always ask me, they're like, "Man, is that one of your songs?" But I say no because it's not. And I say no, but there's this guy named Josh Malloy who's also an Oklahoma boy that's really making his rounds. So I that's probably one of my favorites. Other than that, I have a Hayes Carl t-shirt hanging on my wall over here, and I kind of grew up listening to him. My grandparents used to watch him play when they were in Texas. Um, yeah,
Nice, nice, nice. I always like kind of asking that question because I'm waiting for somebody to throw out like a Miley, because I had a buddy when we first started doing live and amplified, he had a Miley Cyrus cover sitting in his back
yeah,
pocket. And so I've always been kind of curious, like, what's that like obscure song that nobody really ever asked for, but you pull it out every once in a while just to see if people are paying
yeah,
attention. So
yeah. So I would say like "It's a Shame" by Hayes Carl is always one of
yeah,
my favorites. I have a little acoustic version. I haven't put out, but I have it recorded on my phone. And Met the Devil in Oklahoma by Josh Malloy
nice,
is probably one of my favorites to do.
nice. That's sick. That's so sick. And then so at this point, you're writing, you're playing live. And then 2022, you started releasing music. Is that, do I have that kind of timeline correct?
Yeah, that's about right. So going into it, I had no one really to tell me what to do or how to do it, as most people, just got to figure it out yourself, right? And even
Yep.
today, I'm still trying to figure things out, and I try to learn something every day. But I went to just asked on Facebook. I just went to Facebook and said, "Hey guys, look to record some music. What should I do? Where do I go?" And people recommended a local studio for me to record at, and I met some artists there that um, are doing some pretty big time things now that played with me, and recorded my first song, "It'll Be All Right." So I have to shout out E-Rock at Studio E in Pawnee, Oklahoma. Thank you so much for letting me record my first song with you. And since then, I've recorded multiple other singles. I've done a live demo EP, you could call it, and I've done an acoustic live EP as well that are out. But I'm just slowly trying to figure out and make sure I can get these releases right so they can do well.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, I mean, you seem to kind of have a good plan to, like, just kind of from what I've seen from the limited time I've known you or met when I met you a couple weeks ago on Instagram and
Yeah.
whatnot, and just kind of being able to go through your stuff. It's like you're doing some interesting tactics. Like I've always thought doing like live and acoustic recordings, especially at this point in the game, take every shot in the book you can at this point. Like, you know, it's
Yeah.
not gonna hurt, you know.
Yeah, I had someone tell me no content is bad content. So like as
Yep.
long as you're putting something out, it's good. And I'm a sucker for it myself. I don't always post as much as I should. It is very difficult. You do get caught up, being on the road all the time and
Hmm.
obviously dealing with family things and work life and all that. It is hard to have the time to do that, but that is something I do recognize I need to get better at. But I think everyone has something they can always get better at. So
100%. 100%. I agree. Um, so with the live album, do you have like video with that as well, or is it just the audio recording?
we tried to set my phone up, but at the time, since I hadn't done it before, that would have been the greatest probably idea ever to have someone sit and film it. We recorded it in the live room of my
Hmm.
old band's studio that they have.
Hmm.
And because the album was live at Bison Tail Studios,
Yeah.
and we just sat in the live room, all facing each other, and played it. And I wish I could have done that.
Yeah.
No, I do not.
I will say, if you ever want to do another live album, let me know. That's how we cut our teeth, was cutting
Okay.
live albums. So
Wow. Well, that'd be great, man.
yeah,
Thank you.
we'll talk offline on that one
Yeah.
because it's
Sounds good.
I'll have to get the team together, all that fun stuff. But a trip to Oklahoma is always worth it. So
Sweet. Yeah.
Uh, um, so you just released a, new single in July 3rd. Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Called "Down to the River." What's the story behind this song?
So down at the river, I kind of talked about the place where I grew up and spent a lot of my time as a kid was on the Blue River here in Oklahoma. And I told you the story about how my grandpa passed away, but instead
Mm.
of making a song about that place that was sad and and low down. I wanted to make something more upbeat and about the good times we had rather than the times that we can't have anymore, you know. So I just kind of lead it off with all the good times we had down at the river, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And how long's this song kind of been in the works?
So this was one of the first, probably first five songs I recorded within that 6 month period I told you about, or
Mhm.
that I've written, and I just played it live. And when I had my band together, I pitched it to him, and I said, "Hey guys, what do you think of this?" And sure enough, you see old Jared rip out a killer guitar lick for it, and I'm like, dude, this is great.
Yeah,
So we take it to the studio and record it, and then you know how recordings go. Sometimes you get it recorded and it sits in your files for months on end before you can finally release it.
yeah.
Finally getting it out there felt really good, and I have a few more songs like that that I hope I can finally get out there as well.
Nice, nice, nice. And so leading into that, you'd mentioned you had some more. So where are you kind of at creatively right now? I that we talked a little offline that you had some stuff kind of sitting in your back pocket, but
Yeah. Yeah, of course. So, yeah, like I said, I've got some things that are completely, they're wrapped up projects, singles, that are ready to go out. I haven't decided yet if I want to kind of release them as an EP. I've had people telling me things like, oh, don't ever release multiple things at once, or oh, you should release them singles at a time, or
Mhm.
everyone has their own opinions. I think it just kind of depends on everyone's journey is different. So,
Yep, yep.
kind of luck of the draw is what I like to call it. But, I worked with a producer for the first time on this most recent song I recorded, and he worked with a few of my favorite artists who are also from Oklahoma, and I feel really good about this one coming out. I've got a few more that gotta hit the floor running before this one does. Um, but yeah, I'm constantly writing. Matter of fact, in October, the first week of October, we're getting with a bunch of our buddies from Tulsa area.
Mhm.
We're gonna go out to this little remote place in a little small down Podunk, Oklahoma, and we're gonna do a little songwriter retreat and hang out and drink some
Nice,
beer and write some songs. So I'm sure there'll be more coming.
nice, nice. Um, to kind of go back to what your original or what you mentioned a little bit ago about trying to figure out the best way to kind of release it. That take this advice for what it's worth. What I
Yeah,
usually tell people is it depends on what your focus is. Is if your focus is just putting music out, singles, 100% just stay singles, go after radio play, go after Spotify playlist placement, just do all that. But if you are actively playing shows and like, I mean, consistently like 3, 4 times a week, you're out playing shows, release an EP. Like
yeah,
s do a hard copy EP and sell them at your shows, and then but you could still do the single releases on Spotify. It's
yeah.
just when they're at your show, they're buying that EP, they're getting it before it's even out on Spotify.
It's like that uh, real life pre-save link is what that is.
Yep, that's 100% what it is. It's like, I mean, I understand like not everybody has a CD player, but
Yeah.
it so like everybody says they don't have a CD player, but if I look hard enough, I've got a CD player around here
Of course.
somewhere,
And I still buy CDs from people today. I mean, I've
Yeah,
got a couple over my back wall over there that
yeah.
of my friends that I've bought their CDs. So
Actually, my main focus nowadays is vinyl. Like
yeah.
if I see somebody with vinyl, it's like, all right, this is financially going to hurt, but here, take my $40, whatever it
Yeah.
is, and give me your vinyl. So,
Yeah, there's some pretty cool vinyl collections out there, man. That thing hit a resurgence and
yeah.
people are all about the vinyl again.
Oh yeah, I'm in the process of kind of rearranging this setup, and I'm working on a bookshelf back over in this corner that's gonna have a bunch of vinyl on it, and it's gonna look
That's
nice. So,
awesome. That's cool,
uh,
man.
yeah. So, with all that kind of going on, what do you do in your free? When you're not playing music? What do you like to do? What do you do in your free time?
So in my free time, one of my favorite things is go hang out with my friends and family. Whether it be going to a little bar down the road or going to a casino or hitting the lake, just going sitting around the campfire playing some songs. Karaoke is one of my favorite pastimes.
Nice,
We
nice.
love going out there, and we've got a very musical family and they love to go out and sing as well. Um, like I said, most recently, last night I went out with a buddy of mine who just got into music, and he went to his first open mic, and it was cool to get to see that. After kind of being through that, it's kind of cool to see it from an outside
Mm,
perspective, see like the nervousness in someone, and to see like how happy it makes them. It just kind of makes you feel good to see it again,
yeah.
especially with someone that you know and care about. So, yeah, I think a lot of my extracurricular activities is spent with people that mean something to me and that I get
Nice.
kind of that joy and relief from my work and stress life. So,
Nice. Now, when you went out with your buddy last night, did you give him some pointers or did you just kind of let him do his experience the way he
yeah, so
wants?
I'm not one to try to tell anyone how to do anything, but
Hmm.
if you ask me, I will be honest with you. A wise man told me that. He's like, "Oh, you may not like what I have to say, but I'm going to tell you how it is." And
Yeah.
I've been through, I can't say I've been through as much as a lot of people have, but I've been through things in my own way that I have my own opinion on things that I hope by sharing that I can make it a little bit easier for the next guy,
Hmm.
the next person. So he asked me some questions and I hope I had some solid answers for him. So
Yeah, for sure. It, I think that, like, just that mindset in general is a good way to go about life because I've even in the podcasting world, I've had some friends that aren't doing things the way I would do it, but
yeah,
since they didn't ask me how to go about doing anything, it's
yeah,
like I'm over here.
yeah,
If you want advice, I've only been doing this for 8 years, so like I know a thing or two, you know.
yeah. I know a thing or two. Because I've seen a thing or two.
Yeah, right. Oh, but it's crazy. Oh, what's your show situation looking like right now? Are you actively consistently playing right now, or where are you
Yeah,
kind of
man.
at?
So I usually try to, at bare minimum, just have one show a week. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't. I took. I think I took my very first kind of big week long, week and a half break this year after being a couple
Nice.
years into it, and it felt good. It was kind of good to refresh and do laundry. No, but yeah, I always try to make sure I'm always doing something, whether it's paying or not paying,
Hmm.
whether it's traveling or it's down the street or anything like that. But I've been pretty hooked up with the PBR, the Professional Bull
Nice.
Riders.
Yeah.
Usually once a year, once or twice a year, they try to take me out, and whether it's all the way in Montana or nearby down in Fort Worth, they always take care of me.
Hmm.
Um, I try to get some opening gigs to open up for some other local artists as well. Um, Other than that, it's if I'm not gigging, I'm trying to record. I'm in the studio.
Yeah.
November, I'm gonna try to get in and do some more acoustic stuff. I feel like the acoustic stuff has been doing really well lately, so I'm gonna try to get back in and do some of that. Get a little
Nice.
personal with it.
Yeah. Nice. I went to my first rodeo a month ago,
Oh
and
yeah,
I'm
where at?
here in a small town just outside of Waco here called West.
Nice.
They do like a of what it was called Bull Fest. So it was
Yeah.
just strictly bull riding, and then like the next night was the rodeo where they do team roping and all that stuff. Um, but it was basically the guys that do like the Texas rodeo circuit is what they kept saying.
Yeah.
So is but ever since then I've been watching the PBR. Like I'll go on Pluto and just turn on the PBR channel. I don't know what year I'm watching. I don't know. Like it's just kind of there, and so it's entertaining. So
No, it's good stuff. It's exciting. I brought my mom to a few of these events, and you should hear the sound she makes when those people get bucked off or
yeah,
their life is in imminent danger. As a
yeah,
mom, I'm sure she gets a little terrified. So,
yep. I we've got the rodeo coming into town here in a couple weeks here to Waco. Um, and it's part of our county fair. So
yeah.
it's like set up through them, and everybody's telling me go to the first night because it's all the teenagers that are too stupid to be afraid of getting kicked off a bull, and that'll be the best night to go. And I'm like, what, to go watch 16-year-olds get damn near
Oh
killed?
yeah.
Like,
Like, oh yeah,
okay.
it's great. Go watch.
It's like sweet. I think I'd rather watch the professionals that
Yeah.
I've already killed a brain cell or two, I don't know, but um, no, it's cool. It's definitely addicting. And watching the
Yeah.
PBR, I've been actively trying to find if PBR needs a marketing
Yeah.
person. Like, let me PBR if you're listening. I'd love to come work for you. So
Yeah. Check them out.
yeah. But no, it's been really cool. I've enjoyed the conversation. Um, if anybody wants to check out your music, social media, shows, all that fun stuff, where's the best place to find you?
So my website, LeviWalkerMusic.com, has pretty much links to everything. If you're not big into Googling things, you can just find me streaming on all platforms at Levi Walker, and all my socials are Levi Walker Music. So hopefully that should be easy enough if you like what you hear so far and you want to hear some more. So
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will catch you all later.